The ground beneath Westminster is cracking wide open. What once appeared to be a united Labour Party has now spiralled into chaos, betrayal, and a scandal shaking British politics to its very foundation. This isn't just a leak, it's not a rumour. It's a complete collapse, and it's unfolding in real time. Keir Starmer, the man who promised integrity, accountability, and a fresh chapter for Labour, now finds himself at the centre of the most explosive political scandal in a generation. A staggering 43 of his own MPs have resigned, exposing a £22 billion financial black hole tied directly to his leadership. The Labour Party, once the symbol of strong opposition, is now unravelling before the nation's eyes. It started quietly, as hushed concerns whispered in back rooms, vague suspicions during late-night meetings. But those whispers turned into a roar when the first resignation letter surfaced. It came from a senior shadow minister, and it didn't hold back. The letter accused Keir Starmer of orchestrating a calculated cover-up involving multi-billion-pound financial deals, kept secret from both the public and his own party. Within moments, more letters began pouring in. One after another, members of Starmer's front bench stepped down, some on live TV, others with fiery social media posts. What began as a ripple became a tidal wave. By midday, the number of resignations had climbed to 43. And these weren't obscure names or sidelined critics. These were trusted allies, senior figures who had once defended Starmer through every controversy. And now, they were abandoning him. What bound them wasn't just disappointment, it was proof. Concrete, damning proof. Leaked emails, confidential contracts, internal financial records. Each document painted the same picture. Billions funneled through hidden channels into firms closely linked to Starmer's inner circle. This wasn't a series of simple errors. These were deliberate, highly coordinated transactions executed with disturbing precision. Funds meant for public outreach, party development, and national campaigning were redirected into private companies with no oversight, no history, and no legitimacy. The most devastating revelation? A so-called consultancy firm that had been handed a staggering £3.4 billion. On paper, it was responsible for managing Labour's digital campaign strategy. But when journalists dug deeper, they found no office, no employees, no output, nothing. The only link. A former campaign manager who had played a key role in securing Starmer's leadership. Another company walked away with £1.2 billion for so-called grassroots engagement. Yet not a single local branch reported any contact with them. The deeper journalists dug, the more grotesque the pattern became. Shell companies, bloated contracts, and absolutely no results. The public's reaction was swift and furious. Within hours of the first wave of resignations, protesters gathered outside Parliament. Chants of "Where's the money?" echoed through Westminster as disillusioned Labour supporters burned their membership cards in front of live news cameras. Social media erupted with trending hashtags like Number Starmer Scandal and Number Labour Collapse. For many, the betrayal wasn't just about money, it was a moral one. This was a party that claimed to represent working people, now exposed for enriching insiders in secret. Inside Labour headquarters, panic set in. Emergency meetings were held, spokespeople scrambled to do damage control, but the crisis only deepened. Every statement from Starmer's team came off as more desperate than the last. One official claimed the documents were taken out of context. Another insisted the resignations were part of a planned realignment. But no one was buying it, not the public, and not the MPs who remained. According to internal leaks, more shadow ministers are on the edge of resigning, with some even considering crossing the floor to join rival parties. The sense of betrayal spread far beyond Westminster. Labour's largest trade union backers immediately froze donations, demanding an independent investigation. Regional party offices around the UK began shutting down in protest. And for the first time in decades, Labour's national polling plunged below 20%, triggering alarms across Downing Street and throughout the political landscape. But behind closed doors, what truly terrified insiders wasn't the public backlash. It was what hadn't yet been revealed. Whistleblowers warned that the £22 billion figure might only be the beginning. They allege internal audits were shut down by senior officials, emails erased, and staff instructed not to cooperate with outside investigators. One former staffer, speaking anonymously, revealed he had been warned that the survival of the party depends on keeping this buried. That same whistleblower has now handed over more than 600 documents to a cross-party ethics watchdog, which has launched a formal investigation into Starmer's conduct. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer remains behind closed doors. Sources confirm he's cancelled all public appearances and is facing intense pressure from senior Labour figures to step down. But so far, he's refused. Some insiders say he's working on a last-ditch plan to save his leadership. Others believe he's simply in denial, unable or unwilling to accept the scale of the collapse. As the hours pass, one thing becomes undeniable. This is no ordinary political scandal. It's a full-blown institutional crisis. The Labour Party is in freefall, and Keir Starmer is standing at the centre of the wreckage. The resignation letters keep coming, the documents keep leaking, and the anger across Britain is only growing louder. As the dust settles from the initial shockwave, the true scale of the scandal is becoming clearer. What once seemed impossible, a full-scale internal revolt, has become a living nightmare for Keir Starmer. The party that spent years trying to rebuild public trust is now consumed by a storm of resignations, internal rebellion, and financial misconduct so massive it threatens not only Keir Starmer's career, but the very survival of Labour as a functioning political force. At the heart of this collapse lies a web of deceit, woven together by political ambition, financial greed, and a stunning disregard for the public. In confidential messages now leaked to the press, several senior MPs describe how they were misled and manipulated by party leadership. One high-ranking member, who has since resigned, explained how budget allocations were deliberately vague and forced through under emergency provisions, bypassing normal scrutiny. These shadow budgets funneled billions into companies with murky histories and direct ties to Starmer's campaign donors. Parliamentary committees responsible for oversight were kept in the dark. Internal auditors were allegedly blocked from carrying out full reviews. The fallout has ignited a rebellion within Labour's grassroots. Constituency Labour parties, CLPs, across the UK, including in Manchester, Birmingham and Liverpool, have issued formal statements of no confidence in Starmer. Local branches have frozen operations, suspended campaigns, and called on MPs to demand Starmer's immediate resignation. Regional meetings have grown tense, with party members accusing local leaders of either enabling or turning a blind eye to the corruption now erupting publicly. One Chilean PSOE chair in northern England declared, "We were told to stay quiet, to stay loyal. But loyalty to corruption isn't loyalty to the Labour movement." The national media is in overdrive. Front pages scream with damning headlines. News anchors provide minute-by-minute updates as new revelations emerge almost hourly. Investigative journalists are now tracing links between Starmer's inner circle and a wider web of political consultants, lobbyists, and former Blair-era figures, many of whom appear to have profited from these secretive deals. One major exposé revealed that at least 6 of the firms involved in the £22 billion scandal are run by individuals who previously held senior positions at Labour's campaign headquarters during Starmer's leadership bid. Each firm was awarded multi-million-pound contracts for so-called strategic consultation, yet none have produced any measurable results. Inside Parliament, the atmosphere is one of disbelief and rising panic. The remaining frontbenchers are being swarmed by journalists, grilled by backbenchers, and flooded with angry emails from constituents. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings are underway. The remaining leadership is now reportedly split, some pushing for Starmer's immediate resignation, others desperately trying to delay what they see as inevitable. A no-confidence vote is no longer just a possibility, it's imminent. Several MPs have confirmed that the threshold has already been met. The motion is expected to be formally introduced within days. Adding even more fuel to the fire, a new batch of leaked documents emerged late last night. This latest leak includes internal party memos in which senior Labour officials discussed how to suppress dissent and control the fallout from the financial scandal. One particularly chilling memo outlines a plan called Operation Firewall, a strategy to silence MPs who raised financial concerns. The memo proposed stripping them of committee roles, restricting their media access, and even targeting them in future candidate selections. The revelation that dissent wasn't just ignored, but actively punished has infuriated many in the party. It paints a damning portrait, not of mere incompetence, but of calculated sabotage against those who tried to protect party integrity. The emotional toll is visible. Veteran Labour figures, many of whom fought to hold the party together through previous leadership crises, are now openly expressing regret over backing Starmer. One former MP, speaking through tears on national television, recalled encouraging young activists to trust Starmer's leadership, only now to feel betrayed and ashamed. Trade union leaders are voicing similar outrage. The General Secretary of a major union summed it up bluntly. This isn't someone fit to lead a political party. This is someone who used public trust to enrich a private network at the nation's expense. Outside Westminster, the political shockwaves are immense. In just 48 hours, Labour's public trust rating has collapsed. New polling shows that nearly 1/3 of Labour voters have now shifted their support to smaller parties, or are undecided altogether. Rival parties are moving fast to seize the moment. Reform UK and the Liberal Democrats have both issued scathing statements, condemning Labour's corruption and demanding an immediate general election. Even the Conservatives, despite facing scandals of their own, have jumped at the chance to portray Labour as morally bankrupt and unfit to lead. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens are making themselves heard. Mass protests have broken out in major cities. Demonstrators with signs reading, "Where's the £22 billion?" and "Starmer must go," have gathered outside constituency offices and Labour Party headquarters. One protest in London reportedly drew over 10,000 people, all demanding answers and accountability. Videos of the demonstrations have gone viral, amassing millions of views and intensifying the pressure on Labour's leadership. But perhaps the most devastating developments are still to come. A joint task force, including parliamentary investigators, legal experts and journalists, is now investigating the full scope of the £22 billion in questionable transactions. Early findings suggest this scandal could cross into criminal territory. Several legal analysts have warned that if even a fraction of the contracts are proven fraudulent, criminal charges could follow against senior party officials, campaign donors, and possibly even Keir Starmer himself. And yet, despite all this, Starmer remains silent. No public apology, no press conference, no direct acknowledgement of the unfolding crisis. So far, the only response has been a brief statement from a party spokesperson, claiming the leadership will fully cooperate with investigations and insisting there's no evidence of wrongdoing. But few are buying it anymore. With the front bench decimated, membership in open revolt, union support evaporating, and public faith shattered, the Labour Party is teetering on the edge. The next few days will be decisive. Starmer's internal opponents are gaining ground fast, and speculation is mounting that he could be forced to resign before the week is out. But even if he goes, the damage is already done. This scandal has revealed a deep, festering rot within the heart of the Labour machine, one that will take years to purge. As more names are implicated and more documents come to light, the question gripping the nation is no longer just, will Starmer survive? It's, who else knew? The walls are closing in. What began as political tremors has become a full-scale earthquake, its epicentre buried deep within the party's highest ranks. And with every passing hour, another layer of deception is stripped away, exposing the dark underbelly of Keir Starmer's leadership with ruthless, unrelenting clarity. And the picture now emerging isn't just one of financial mismanagement. It's one of calculated betrayal, systematic silencing, and institutional decay. At the centre of it all are the testimonies of those who were once on the inside, now risking their careers, and in some cases their safety, to speak the truth. One former senior policy advisor, once a close confidant of Starmer, has come forward with a disturbing account of internal operations. Speaking to independent investigators, this whistleblower described covert strategy sessions held in private homes rather than official party offices. These meetings, often attended by top donors, campaign strategists, and personal allies of the Labour leader, were allegedly where key decisions on funding and contract awards were made, far from the reach of party oversight. According to the whistleblower, policy discussions were often sidelined. The real focus was on media control, narrative shaping, and how best to reward political loyalty. Another explosive testimony came from a mid-level Labour staffer, who leaked a detailed internal communications log. The log exposed coordinated efforts to silence dissenting voices, particularly those questioning the legitimacy of the contracts now under investigation. In internal emails, certain MPs were labelled as troublemakers, and targeted efforts were made to push them out of the spotlight. This included restricting their media access, excluding them from key debates, and even threatening deselection if they continued to speak out. Several of these MPs, now among the 43 who've resigned, have confirmed they were warned in no uncertain terms. Fall in line or face political extinction. These revelations have only fueled public fury and shattered what little credibility Starmer had left with the party base. The carefully crafted image of a strong, principled leader has collapsed, replaced by the portrait of a man who built his power on fear, secrecy, and personal allegiance. Meanwhile, more damning documents have come to light, suggesting that Labour resources were used for private indulgence. One leaked ledger shows digital outreach expenses that include luxury hotel stays, first-class travel, and hefty consultancy fees charged by firms with no visible public work. In total, these questionable expenses exceed £850 million. Money now missing from Labour's official financial records. Inside Labour HQ, a chilling paralysis has set in. Remaining staff work in near-total silence, avoiding reporters, refusing to answer questions, and declining all public comment as the crisis deepens. Multiple insiders describe the atmosphere as toxic and increasingly authoritarian, with all internal communications now filtered through a crisis management unit that reports directly to Starmer himself. Security has reportedly been tightened at Labour Party offices, with several employees already placed on administrative leave as internal investigations ramp up. Behind closed doors, discussions are underway about appointing interim leadership, but viable options are vanishing fast as more MPs distance themselves from the current regime. Meanwhile, a legal firestorm is building. Leading barristers and political ethics experts are warning that criminal charges may soon be imminent. The Crown Prosecution Service is reportedly reviewing multiple complaints involving fraudulent contracts, misuse of public funds, and obstruction of internal audits. The Parliamentary Standards Watchdog has already launched a formal inquiry, and leaked memos confirm that outside investigators have requested full access to Labour's financial records spanning the last 3 years. If these investigations validate the whistleblower claims, Starmer could become the first opposition leader in British history to face criminal indictment while still in office. Beyond the halls of power, public anger has morphed into decisive action. Local councils in traditional Labour strongholds are now passing symbolic no-confidence motions against the national leadership. In one northern borough, every Labour councillor resigned from the party in protest. Their statement read, "We cannot serve our communities under a banner stained by greed, lies and betrayal." Grassroots organisations, many of which supported Labour's community initiatives for decades, have withdrawn their support and demanded a full restructuring of party leadership. The internal revolt has reached critical mass. Even former Labour heavyweights, once considered untouchable within the party, are now speaking out. In a powerful public statement, a former party leader denounced the current leadership, declaring, "This is not the Labour Party I knew. This is a hijacked institution, manipulated by opportunists and hollowed out by self-interest." That message has echoed across the nation, fueling more resignations, mass protests, and increasing calls for the party to be placed under independent oversight until it can rebuild public trust. Even more alarming, however, is the growing suspicion that this scandal may not be limited to Labour alone. Early findings from financial regulators suggest that several firms tied to the £22 billion in contracts may also have links to other political groups, lobbying organisations, and cross-party initiatives. If confirmed, the consequences could stretch far beyond Starmer, threatening to engulf the broader political establishment. Already, MPs from across the aisle are calling for a parliamentary commission to investigate corruption in all major parties, warning that this may only be the beginning, that what we're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg.